I'll never call off. Fourth quarter pressure. Back of the jersey. Double sevens. No matter how many times, I'll never get tired of that reference. Hall of Fame for dirt. We love you with a deep reverence.
Hi, this is Luka Doncic.
Hi, I'm Kyrie Irving.
And you're listening to the Mavs Step Back Podcast.
They waiting on my fall off. I'll never call off. Fourth quarter pressure. Back of the jersey. Double sevens. No matter how many times, I'll never get tired of that reference. Hall of Fame for dirt. We love you with a deep reverence. Backcourt nasty. I wonder who gon' check him. Cuban did his thing when he went and got number 11. I still got his picture on my wall at 707. Feel synonymous with Kyrie, how we both train with aggression. Competition obsolete. Trying to breathe life into my dreams. I'm so tired of sleep. Still got some work from last season that was incomplete. So hungry for redemption. Thank my boys, just might overeat. Like Luka with his 3 of them hit, my mic is prone to overheat. I pride myself the most. I'm 22 and my folks proud of me. I took the hard away since I was 10. Was no surprise to me. A step back, Mavs blowing up was no surprise to me. And I'm speaking honestly. 7.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You can find both of us on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find myself at Dalton_Trigg. You can find DJ at Coach Drew 33. You heard the intro. You know what it means. Cue the intro means Mavs win. Mavs win. It was a huge win in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. The Mavs, they were only down 3 at halftime, despite Minnesota hitting 11 threes in that first half. They were on fire, specifically Jaden McDaniels. He couldn't miss. They were only down 1 going into the fourth quarter. Luka had a subpar game up until the fourth quarter, but then when the fourth quarter started, Luka took over. It was Luka's time. He had 15 of his 33 points in the fourth quarter. And the Mavs ultimately ended up with a 108-105 win. And there's a lot of different aspects of this game that we're going to break down. But before we get into all that, I think the biggest part of this game, at least in my opinion, the moment where it's like, okay, it was like, okay, the Mavs are going to win this thing. They were down 102-101 with a little less than 2 minutes remaining. And they got out in a fast break opportunity and got P.J. Washington a wide open 3 from the left corner. And P.J., he didn't have his best game. You know, he only shot 4 of 10. He didn't really do much in the first half. But he, as always, as P.J. normally does, he finds a way to hit a big clutch 3 in the fourth quarter. And he hit that 3. He gave the Mavs a 104-102 lead with 156 remaining, I believe, in the fourth. And the Mavs never relinquished the lead from that point. It was the go-ahead bucket, and they stayed up. And Luka did his thing. Kyrie Irving, you know, he flipped the script, you know, for the first time, it feels like, this postseason. He normally gets off to slow starts. He did not in this one. He had 24 of his 30 points in the first half. And then he finished things off by hitting a couple really clutch free throws for the Mavs at the end of Game 1. So the Mavs, they have a 1-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals. They have stolen home court just like that from the Timberwolves. And this is a much different feel from, you know, what we were feeling during the 2022 Western Conference Finals when the Mavs didn't win their first game until they were already down 0-3. So this is a new feeling. It's something that hasn't been felt since 2011, which was forever ago. We're both getting so old, it feels like. But
you were in high school.
I remember the Western Conference Finals against OKC during that 2011 run. I was literally in Destin on my senior trip. while everybody was out doing stuff on the beach and going to different places they probably shouldn't have been going and all that, I was sitting on a couch at the beach house watching the Mavs and Thunder in the, in the Western Conference Finals. So that's how long. That's showing my age a little bit. But, we're still in this thing, and, it's been a long time coming, and I'm just thrilled at how the Mavs have come out in this first game. Look, we talked about it. We thought the Mavs we thought they matched up fairly well with how Minnesota plays defense. The drop coverage, we talked about it. It was going to be a problem for Minnesota, and it was. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust to that in games 2, 3, 4, and forward, because I don't know. I mean, they can change it up, but I don't know if you can change it up too much while having Rudy Gobert on your team.
They would have to remove Rudy Gobert from their starting lineup, and that's something that I'm pretty sure I touched on whenever we went over this with Kirk. They just can't defend the pick and roll the way they need to be able to defend it whenever you've got someone like Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving at the controls in that scenario. You're either going to give up a wide open mid-range jumper or you're going to give up a lob, and you got to pick your poison, and it killed them tonight. And honestly, if I'm the Mavs, I'm going to the pick and roll until they can stop me. I'm going to that over and over and over again, and just making that read over and over and over again, and you will get scoring opportunities. And that's exactly what we saw tonight. I really have to wonder if the Wolves adjustment is going to be taking Gobert out of the starting lineup, and if so, that is going to be a huge blow to that guy's ego.
Yeah, and look, it's one thing if you're OKC in the last round to take Josh Giddey out of the starting lineup. A young guy who has been struggling, and he had started every game up until that point. I think it was game 5 when OKC made the adjustment, and then it was just way too late. But this is a completely different thing. Like, if you're Coach Finch for the Timberwolves, if this is a reoccurring problem, and say they go down 0-2 with while having both games at home to start the Western Conference Finals, what do you do? I mean, surely you can't. I mean, you can, but in theory, you can't bench the Defensive Player of the Year. It feels like that would send the vibes of the team spiraling. That would reek of desperation.
Well, that's what it's going to end up becoming. They're either going to have to take Gobert out of the game, or they're going to have to play some kind of zone, in which case I say we will light that on fire. I know that we didn't shoot the ball well today, but we would kill a zone with the shooters that we have on the perimeter. Something else that was exposed today that a lot of people really probably didn't notice because he wasn't making said shots was PJ Washington's constant openings from the perimeter, specifically in the corner. Corner. He is open all day. If they will just swing the ball to him, off of those pick and roll. Honestly, my dream scenario right now, this is getting me excited, guys, so just give me a second. off of a screen and roll with Luka and Kyrie. I want Luka setting the screen, Kyrie coming off of it. We can pop it, roll it. I don't care. Gobert can't guard it. But let's say they slide someone over to take that away. You know whose man that is? That's PJ Washington's. Yep. Then we kick it to the corner, open three in the corner all day long. And that is literally what the Mavs should be doing pretty much every single offensive possession, unless the Wolves go zone. And if they go zone, that kind of changes things as far as how effective a pick and roll is. But because of the league's defensive 3 seconds rule, you can't really clog the lane too terribly much. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see what Finch does, because he's going to have to do something.
It was it was a much needed adjustment, but the Mavs started this game, and like PJ Washington started out not shooting very well. He was wide open, but he was at like the top of the key. the top of the break, on each side where he was shooting. And, we were talking about it during the game, and I was telling you, like, they need to get him to the corner. Good things are going to happen if they get him to the corner. And he showed that, not just hitting corner threes, but, there was one point where he pump faked and drove past Cat and hit a reverse layup and got fouled. So good things happen if you have PJ in the corner.
It's always going to be open for him in the corner because he's going to be attacking that closeout. If they close short, you're bombing it. If they close tight, you're blowing by him. It's happening every single time. If they keep Cat and Gobert on the floor at the same time. Again, if I'm Finch, I'm having to really consider making a serious adjustment, and that adjustment might kill their morale, honestly.
It's really crazy, looking at it, because I don't know what I was expecting as far as like style wise, how these teams would play game one. What I wasn't expecting, DJ, is for the Timberwolves to hit 18 threes, for the Mavs to only hit 6 threes, and yet the Mavs still win. And the reason they won is because they controlled the boards. They won the rebounding battle 48-40. For a team that, and we talked about it coming into the series, how concerned we were with the side, especially not having Maxey. He's an extra big body you can throw in there if, there were times tonight where Daniel Gafford struggled a little bit. Now he made up for it, but there were times where he was struggling, and it felt like, man, it'd be nice if Maxey was there to throw in, but he wasn't. And we came into this series thinking that Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, we were very worried about Naz Reid. And there were moments in this game where it was just like, holy crap, here we go. Naz Reid's going to hit threes and drive and just make a bunch of winning plays for Minnesota. The Mavs were only down 1 heading into the fourth, and Naz Reid started off the fourth quarter by nailing a 3, and I was thinking, oh, God, here we go. Yeah, but I was just very surprised that the Mavs dominated down low as much as they did, because if anything, you'd think it would be an even battle. And coming into it, we thought that Minnesota had the edge a little bit. But again, the Mavs 48-40, they won the rebounding battle, and then points in the paint were just staggering. 62 to Minnesota's 38. Like, they nearly doubled up Minnesota in the paint, which is unreal to me. So just amazing stuff, like to fight through the adversity that we saw. I mean, the Mavs weren't playing their best basketball for the vast majority of this game, even though Kyrie Irving was. He exploded in the first half. He was playing amazing basketball, but
it's because Anthony Edwards talked noise. Okay, you don't talk to Kyrie Irving. You don't. Like, that's the one guy you just let him be. He's a peaceful human. In whenever you disrupt his peace, he gets a little crazy out there, and that's what we saw in the first quarter. And honestly, I hope that Anthony Edwards doesn't shut up. I just hope he continues to talk, because that would be in our interest.
Here's the thing. I don't even think Anthony Edwards even meant it as anything disrespect. I think that's just how he is. He just talks and doesn't think about what he thinks. He doesn't think about what he says. So, immediately following that Game 7 win over the Nuggets, he was just like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. My assignment's going to be Kyrie, and we'll see how it turns out. And, I don't think he meant anything disrespectful by it, but just the tone in which he said it. I just know, and Kyrie admitted this on the post game. He joined the TNT crew live, and they were asking him about that, and he was just like, well, yeah, it added some extra motivation. So shout out to Anthony Edwards for providing that little extra bit of motivation. That it's crazy that's what it took. It took Anthony Edwards poking the bear to finally get Kyrie Irving to do something in the first half of a game.
Well, amazing. You open your mouth, you get nephewed by Uncle Drew. So it was a heck of a performance by Kyrie Irving in the first half, and honestly, we needed it. We needed it to stay in the game. whenever that onslaught from three was happening.
Hold on,
but
before you make your next point, and we don't have to talk about this right now. You can take it wherever you're going to take it, but I have to do it because it's that time of the night again, DJ. Guess who was a team high in the plus minus department tonight?
it's Derek Lively.
It was Derek Lively, the 20-year-old rookie center. Again.
He did some cheating this time. I actually looked at the stats at the end of the game, so I knew. But I mean, I'm not surprised. I really am not. The guy makes mistakes, okay? There's no way around it. He makes rookie mistakes. I mean, there were a few instances where he'd catch the ball off of a pick and roll. And, there was one time where he traveled. I mean, he just does rookie stuff. But he makes winning plays. And his presence out there, it just influences winning.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, when are we going to just start him out right? I mean, I get it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But when are we just going to start the kid out right? Because, I mean, he just makes such a positive impact.
It's crazy. I mean, look, Gafford in 21 minutes, he was a negative 15, but most of that came from the first half, I feel like. There were times in the second half where he actually redeemed himself, I thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a trend for sure. I mean, several of these games, it's like Lively is an unbelievable positive in his bench minutes, and then Gafford just, they're finding him on switches and they're taking advantage of it. So, and then there's like times where Gafford, he'll get the offensive rebound, but then sometimes he might not know exactly what to do with it. Like one time he grabbed an offensive rebound in that second half, and I thought he should have kicked it out to Kyrie or whoever it was, in the corner there, wide open three. But, he was about 5-6 feet out from the basket, and he tried to do a little push, hook, whatever it was, and missed it. So if it's not an easy dunk, I'd like to see him get those rebounds and throw them back out, and that would help a lot too. But, defensively, unless he's just going vertical at somebody driving to the rim, he is not as good defending in space, out on the perimeter like Lively is. And Lively is not perfect at it either, but you can see the foundation for it with Lively. He's gonna be a menace for years to come. He is gonna be a guy that can guard 1 through 5 at some point.
Lively is just really good, not only at guarding on the switch, but also just rotating, like helping the helper. His IQ on that, it's not perfect, like you said, but it's really, really, really good for a rookie big man. And he's got the physical tools to be able to execute it, which is also extremely rare for a rookie big man. So, no, it's clear that Lively's biggest contribution is on the defensive end. He gives people fits, and that's why his plus minus is the way it is. I think it's his defensive ability and his defensive contribution. And he's fantastic at catching lobs. I just really wish that he would develop some way of being able to catch the ball either with his back to the basket or just in traffic, and then being able to do something with it consistently. Because too often he either gets happy feet or he brings the ball low and he turns it over. That's going to be the next step in his development, is being strong with the basketball. Because if there's one thing that these guards, specifically on the Timberwolves, are really good at doing, it's tapping the ball away. They're exceptional at it.
I know one thing about Lively. He knows how to – he has a smooth Euro step, because in that first half, and he's shown it several times, like just in this one postseason. He showed it a few times throughout the regular season too. But, he can catch the ball near the top of the three-point line, and it only takes him a few steps. It reminds me of Giannis, how he does it. He only takes him a few steps, and he's got good control with it and just an easy finish. And it catches the defense off guard because they don't expect the 7'1" guy to be doing stuff like that. But that's a really nice wrinkle he's added to his game.
He's really skilled. He's actually more skilled than a lot of people know. His issue right now is his strength, specifically his core strength. And that'll come.
Problem going forward.
Yeah. No, that'll come. He's got a really good frame for it. He just hasn't had enough time in the NBA weight room. But the fact that he's doing what he's doing right now, I mean, I know that this draft class, well, Chet isn't exactly part of this draft class, but still, I know this draft class is a little bit of an anomaly in terms of how, rookie bigs are producing right away. But let's think back on past draft classes. How often do we see a big man produce right away like this? It's not very often. It's not very often. I can think of two right off the top of my head, and that's Wemby, who was in this year's draft class, and I guess Chet, if you consider Chet a rookie, but that's a whole
and Shaq. I mean,
Shaq,
if you want to go way back, but like here, and I mean, look, even if guys come in and have a decent year, stats wise, if they hold their own, they don't impact winning the same way Lively has this year.
Like Hassan Whiteside. Do you remember Hassan Whiteside, who played for the Miami Heat? He had tremendous stats. He had incredible stats, incredible numbers, but they never won.
Yep.
So, and whatever they finally did, have some people around him that were halfway decent, he disappeared. He vanished from the league. What happened to Hassan Whiteside? But anyway, that's kind of irrelevant.
It's kind of crazy that the Mavs' grand plan in free agency, I think it was in 2015 or 16 I can't remember, but their grand plan was trying to pair Mike Conley and Hassan Whiteside together.
Thank God it happened.
Thank God for Nico Harrison coming onto the scene, because he has really changed things.
I still remember the days that when Harrison Barnes was going to be our number one option after Dirk retired.
He was. Oh yeah, not only did we help facilitate Kevin Durant to Golden State by taking Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut in the sign and trade, but there was a dark time there where love Harrison Barnes. He's a great guy. I'm not going to dig on him too much, but when Harrison Barnes is the face of your franchise for a year or so, it ain't good. So, but look, this game one, this is a feel-good win. Like, as much as the Mavs can improve on their own play going forward, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it glitched for a second. As much as the Mavs can improve on how they played going forward, I'm looking at the box score for the Timberwolves, and there's nothing on here that makes me think, oh, well, this isn't sustainable. The Wolves are going to be able to play better than this. You go down the list, and I mean, you see all these contributions that the Timberwolves got, and it doesn't look like something like where they're going to overachieve going forward. Like, this seems sustainable. Like, if the Mavs can win while the Timberwolves got at least 12 points from every starter, they got, let's go down the list here. Jaden McDaniels, 24 points, 6 of 9 shooting from 3. 9 of 15 shooting overall. Rudy Gobert, 12 points, 2 blocks, 7 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns, 16 points, 7 rebounds. He shot 6 of 20, which wasn't great. 2 of 9 from 3, but they defended him really well. PJ Washington on Cat works. And, that's going to be a big thing to watch going throughout the rest of the series. Mike Conley only shot 2 of 7 and 1 of 6 from 3. That might be something they can improve on, because Conley, I feel like this was a rare game where Mike Conley missed threes versus the Mavs. I feel like he normally hits those kind of shots against the Mavs. But he does have some injury stuff going on too, so that's something to keep an eye on. Only had 6 points. Anthony Edwards had 19 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 6 of 16 shooting, hit 5 of 12 threes. I feel like that can be a normal line for him in this series, especially if they're going to, play us. They didn't really double Ant in this game.
Didn't have to.
But they kept a guy within arm's length. They kept a guy close enough to where Ant had to think about, okay, if I drive here, then he's going to come over, and they are going to double. But it wasn't a true double. It was like they were playing mind games.
So it was so they were kind of playing like a little bit of a pseudo zone, but what they were doing is they were prohibiting Ant from being able to go side to side. And when Ant is not allowed to go side to side, he has a hard time getting north and south, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
And they're really just kind of putting him in a box, so to speak. I thought the coverage was brilliant. And honestly, I don't know who figured out that little bit of information out about Ant. But if you cut off his side to side movement, he has a really hard time getting downhill.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he acknowledged that in the post game interviews. But that's very interesting, and he's not able to get to his right as often, and that's really the way that he wants to go whenever he gets downhill. Yeah, can't say enough about that coverage. That was excellent coverage on Ant. I thought that it made him extremely uncomfortable. And just overall, I thought we did a really good job of keeping the ball out of the middle. And they weren't able to establish anything with their size moving forward. So I agree with you for the most part. I don't think there's anything, if the Mavs continue to play this brand of defense, I don't think there's anything else the Wolves can really do except, make some wholesale changes as far as their lineup is concerned, which I don't know if Finch is willing to do that or not. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The only thing that I could really see being a little different is Cat making a few more of those threes, because Cat's supposed to be the best shooting big in the league or something.
Yeah.
But the issue with Cat, and Barkley brought this up, I overheard him talking about it, is Cat settles a lot, especially whenever he gets it in the mid range. He thinks he's Dirk Nowitzki. He's not Dirk Nowitzki. There's only one of those. And he settles a lot. And if that guy would just put his head down and go to the rim, he would have a lot more success. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Cat could be the most dominant player in the league if it wasn't for what was upstairs. Something's going on up there. I don't know what it is, but something has always been going on up there. So,
well, I think what you have, and I mean, I'm not comparing Dirk to Cat, but no. I think it's there's a similar thing going on with PJ guarding Cat as there was with Dirk in that 2007 series against the Golden State Warriors, where you had the athletic, smaller guy guarding Dirk, and it bothered Dirk. Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes and Jason Richardson and those guys. So I feel like there's a similar thing going on with Cat, at least through one game. Game one, I thought PJ really kind of got into him and made him uncomfortable, and the results speak for themselves. So, we'll see how sustainable that is going forward. But man, with the way the Timberwolves scored the ball, especially from deep, and it didn't seem like anybody aside from Mike Conley had like a really off game for them. And then for the Mavs to only hit 6 threes and to win game one on the road, it feels really nice. And I guess we'll go into some things that we would have rather not seen in this game now, since we've gone over all the
this would be the part where I piss everybody off.
we won't lead off with that like we did.
I made some people angry
coming off of a game 6 win over OKC. But so let's talk about Josh Green for a second, because he, for the most part, I thought he played pretty solid defense tonight. There were a few times where he was isolated on Ant, and I thought he did pretty well for himself. But when the game was on the line, so Kyrie Irving hit 2 free throws to put the Mavs up 108 to 104 with 7 seconds left, I think, or something like that. Well, all you had to do was just let him. All you had to do was just let him shoot the ball. Just let him shoot the ball. If he makes it, fine. If he misses it, it doesn't matter. The clock's probably going to run out. Josh Green fouls Mike Conley on a 3. How many times have we had to see Josh Green foul a 3-point shooter this year? I don't know how you do that in that situation. So that really bugged me. Now, Mike Conley, I think he made the first one and then missed
Missed
the
the
second
second.
one. And then he was forced to miss the third one on purpose, and then it just didn't work out. Mavs got the rebound. So it worked out, but that's just something you can't do. 7 seconds left. You're up 4. Just let them shoot it. Just let them shoot it.
My
So,
question is this, and as a coach, you have to. And I thought Kidd actually did a good job today. I really do. I really do, especially with that timeout at the end when PJ Washington was blowing it down the court against 3 people. Thank God. Thank God he called a timeout there. That was perfect.
yeah.
That was excellent.
We were
I
so
don't
surprised.
I don't think I've ever been so excited about a timeout in my entire life. And honestly, it's like he kind of thought about what happened in Game 6 against Oklahoma City and was like, "Dang, I probably should take control of these late game situations." And by God, he did it. Kudos to Jason Kidd, man. That was excellent. But you really need to know who you have on the floor, and you really need to know. You need to know history about him, right? Like you said earlier, Josh Green is notorious for fouling 3-point shooters. What is the one thing we don't want to give up right now? A foul, specifically a foul on the 3-point line, because now they get a potential 3 points without any time coming off the clock. So you need to get that guy out. And honestly, at that point, you really need to get as much experience on the floor as humanly possible. And I don't know if he just forgot that Josh Green was out there, but that's something that could potentially cost you the game. Well, there was another play that I want to go over.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of the game. I want to say it was PJ Washington inbounding the ball. And I think we were up maybe 1 or 2. I think it was actually immediately following that whole Michael Conley fiasco, and we were inbounding the ball. I think that was it. Either way, we were
Oh,
inbounding.
yeah. There was 1.8 seconds left.
Yeah. And we threw it to freaking mid-court.
No. What was it? Hold on. Let me go to the. Let's not guess here. Let's just go to the thing and see.
Either way, when the ball left PJ's hands, my soul left my body.
Yeah. Okay. So the Mavs were up 106 to 102. Because Luka, he made a sick mid-range shot over Jaden McDaniels with about 49 seconds left. He just dominated in that fourth quarter, had 15 points.
Mm-hmm.
And so fast forward, there's 13 seconds left. Karl Anthony Towns misses a 3, but Naz Reid got the tip on the offensive rebound. He tipped it in, so it made it 106 to 104. So then, with 7 seconds left, PJ Washington was inbounding the ball. And, as much as we tip our hat to the good timeout that Jason Kidd took.
That would have been a great time to call timeout. That would have been a really good time. But even then, PJ, we can't do that. Okay?
He threw a half court, like he lobbed it. And it felt like that thing hung in the air for 10 minutes is how it felt. And Mike Conley's fingertips were about that far away from getting a turnover. But luckily,
we were so fortunate that it was Mike Conley that was there instead of, one of their better athletes. Because that was such an easily gettable ball.
We're lucky it was Derrick Jones Jr. who was catching it for the Mavs, because he jumped up to get it. And then before Conley could foul Derrick Jones Jr., you had Kyrie running up the court, and they were able to get it to him for the sure thing free throws. So
thank God.
That was something.
Oh my God. We can't do that, guys. That can't happen. Call timeout, advance the ball, keep it simple. I'm getting too old for this. Like, we can't do this.
Yeah, and I mean, look, as much as we, like I said, Kidd did take a good timeout there toward the end, and we were just like, okay, good job. But there's still times where he just drives you nuts, because With 7:38 left in the fourth quarter, the Mavs built a 97-89 lead. And they had chances to build on that, but they gave up an offensive rebound that led to an Anthony Edwards three. They gave up a Karl Anthony Towns 2-pointer. Let's see what else happened after that. Gave up another. Let's see. Kyrie missed a shot. Towns got the rebound. Rudy Gobert got an alley-oop dunk.
I remember that.
Off of the Towns assists, the big man pick and roll. And then Cat hit a three with 4:39 left to put the Wolves up 99-98. So let's see. That was a 10-2 run for the Wolves, and Kidd didn't take the timeout until that lead had completely evaporated. Now, to Kidd's credit, after the Wolves went up 102-98 with 3:37 left, the Mavs controlled everything from that point, and he took some incredible timeouts. But I don't know that, or one incredible timeout. He should have taken one there at the end. But overall, I'm going to try not to be too critical because I just can't believe how this team keeps winning like this. Like, eventually they're going to put together a game where everything clicks and we're going to have a blowout on our hands in a good way. So,
yeah, no. And I really think that's a real possibility because like we keep saying, if Finch doesn't make a pretty big substitution, and I mean taking Gobert out of the game, they don't have a chance at guarding Dallas in the pick and roll. No way.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see how many minutes Gobert ended up. Gobert played
a lot.
38 minutes. So it'll be interesting to keep track of that, throughout the series. And I mean, look, as much as it felt like, the Mavs, and this is where the plus minus comes into effect for me, because we always talk about how it's not the end all be all. And sometimes it matches the eye test. I'm not sure it matches the eye test with Gobert. Because it says he was a plus 10, but I felt like, I don't know. I just feel like with that drop coverage that they play with Gobert, I feel like that favors the Mavs a little bit. Now, there were times where Rudy, got a block or played pretty good defense, but more times than not, I think it favors the Mavs.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, they can't keep him out there. They just can't. They can't because we kept getting easy basket after. I mean, literally Luka's whole fourth quarter explosion, half of it was done in a pick and roll scenario, and they kept dropping, and he kept drilling shot after shot after shot in the mid range. And the thing about Luka is you cannot let him get his feet set. And yeah, McDaniels was there a lot of the time, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter because once Luka is allowed to get his feet set, it's over. It doesn't matter who you would literally have to block that shot, and McDaniels never could. So I mean, it just goes back to what we said earlier. You can't have Gobert on the floor, and I'll be shocked if he does take him out though, because I mean you're pretty much he's one of the highest paid players in the league. He's definitely the highest paid player on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Are you really going to bench that guy?
No, he's going to start and he's going to play, but
we're going to win.
But we'll keep an eye on his minutes though, is what I'll look at because 38 minutes. I don't know if Gobert's going to end up playing that much as this series progresses. We'll have to see. Okay, so going into game 2, obviously we're feeling pretty good about it because we kind of feel like the Mavs stole one here on the road because they didn't shoot the ball as good as they could have. Kyrie Irving did, but he didn't make a three. He was 0 of 3 from 3. Luka was 3 of 10 from 3. PJ Washington was 2 of 8 from 3. So
if PJ made shots, he could have gone for 30 tonight because he had so many opportunities.
Derek Jones Jr. 0 for 2 for 3. So I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen again. Mm-hmm. I really don't. So game 2, I expect the same thing that we've seen from the Mavs defense this entire postseason, except for those 2 game ones. Game 1 of the Clipper series, game 1 of the OKC series. I expect the same defensive stuff from the Mavs in game 2, and I expect the offense to be a little bit higher up than what it was in game 1. And then on Minnesota's side, I'm not sure if they're going to get the same overall production from their guys that they got in this game. I mean, you look at the shooting, Naj Reid, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 of 9 overall off the bench. Kyle Anderson, 5 of 8. Again, McDaniels, 6 of 9 from 3, 24 points. I don't know if that's a playoff career high for him or not, but he he was amazing. So I mean, I just don't expect it to be this close in game 2. Now, if it swings back to Dallas and Finch feels desperate and he makes some drastic changes, maybe something happens and the Mavs fumble a game in game 3. But with how this particular game played out, I would not be shocked if the Mavs come out in game 2 on the road and take a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, I mean, it would require Minnesota to make some pretty drastic changes for that not to be the case, or for Dallas to go even more cold than what they did today. Because, I mean, let's face it, they didn't have a great shooting night, and they still found a way to win. And Minnesota shot out of their minds, specifically in the first half. Do we have some stats for the first half? What was their overall percentage from 3 in the first half? I thought that it was around 70%. At least that's what it felt like.
Let's see. Minnesota. Hold on. I've got it right here. Minnesota shot 11 of 25 from 3 in the first half, 44%.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, 11 of 25 in one half. Meanwhile, the Mavs, they shot 2 of 13, which is 15.4% in the first half. So
it's not going to happen again. On either side, that's not going to happen again.
And look, Kyrie Irving talked about it in his post game on the with the TNT crew. The younger guys who haven't been on this stage before, there's some nerves that you have to work through, and that's probably why the Mavs got off to slow starts in game 1s in the first 2 rounds. Not everybody is completely there. You got to figure out how to deal with the nerves and the pressure, and especially being on the road. You're not going to have home court advantage as a 5 seed most times. So Kyrie has been great about, calming his teammates' nerves and letting them know, like, hey, this is part of it. You just got to fight through it. And, you're not going to make everything. So don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. You'll make it next time. Just keep going with the flow and good things will happen. And thankfully, they were able to do enough good things in game 1 to get past those early jitters and, get a win. So I think that was some positive development for this team. It's one thing we haven't seen yet. We hadn't seen the Mavs win a game 1 under Jason Kidd, and they finally did it. And, maybe that ripped the Band-Aid off, and, more good things are to follow. So we'll see. The Mavs in their first 2 series, they've won games 2 and 3 after losing game 1. Well, we'll hope that they can win games 2 and 3 after game 1 this time too, and then they'll have a commanding 3-0 lead. We'll
That'd
see.
be awesome. That'd be all for it.
We'll
and
see
it could happen if Minnesota does not make the adjustment that it needs to make, and I don't know that it will, because I know how big pride is with people. But that could very well happen. And I don't want to count our eggs before, they hatch. Yeah. But I'm feeling pretty good about this. I haven't felt this good about something in a while. So,
well, I mean, look, Anthony Edwards, he's amazing. He is going to be, and he's going to continue to just be unbelievable as the next few years roll on. But it feels like the national media, they jump too soon to try and crown a guy before he puts his hours in, before he gets to where he goes through certain experiences and look, he might come out the next game and put up 50 or something, and the Wolves end up winning. I don't know if the Mavs defense would allow that, but the point is he's really good. But I think everybody's kind of jumped the gun a little bit and kind of overlooked the other guy on the other side that finished third in MVP voting. Probably should have been at least second. The MVP race should have been. He shouldn't have just gotten 4 first place MVP votes. I'll tell you that much right now. In Luka Doncic, so he has been on this stage before. He has been embarrassed by the Golden State Warriors. They were down 0-3 in that 2022 Western Conference Finals. They won a consolation game in Game 4, but then they lost the series in 5. So he's been to this point and failed. And now he has the best team around him that he's had in his entire career. And I think that's what kind of puts the Mavs over the top. They have the best player in the series. Anthony Edwards is great, and he's going to be great, but he's not Luka Doncic. Luka is on a different tier than Anthony Edwards.
So is Kyrie Irving. We have the best 2 players in the series. Let's be honest here. Kyrie Irving in that first quarter was amazing. He was really good in the first half period, but in that first quarter, he was amazing. And I go on a rant really quick about this whole American superstar thing. So specifically the American media wants so badly for there to be a new American superstar. And I get it. It's an American league and they want an American superstar. You had Kobe, you had LeBron, you had MJ. Ant isn't one of them right now. Okay. In fact, we don't have one of them right now. Jason Tatum isn't that guy. And we just don't have one. And do we really want to know why Europeans currently are dominating our league? It's because of the way grassroots basketball is done now in both countries. And you can Google a Gino Auriemma clip, and he'll probably say it better than I will, but I'm going to give it my best shot. You have American basketball players who come up and they play more games than they practice. You have this AAU culture. You're playing potentially 6 games in a weekend.
Yeah.
And you're practicing maybe 1 day a week. And this is going on throughout the spring and the summer. Now, it may be a little bit different in high school, but still you're playing probably about 3 to 4 games a week in high school too, potentially depending on where you're playing high school ball at. In the European leagues, you play 1 to 2 games a week, and you are practicing the majority of the time. That is where the development of fundamentals comes in. And the reason you have, guys like Luka Doncic, like Nikola Jokic dominating the league right now is because they were put through that extensive training. Whereas people like Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum grew up in this new AAU culture. And until that shifts, until the paradigm shifts, until all that changes and we start valuing development over games as a country, then you're going to continue to see people from foreign countries dominate our league. And that's just the way it is. You want to make a change the way things are done. And I'm going to get people angry at me about this, and I don't care. Sue me.
I don't think so. I mean, I agree with your general point. Talking about it. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum are very good basketball players,
but they're not as good as Luka.
No, they're not. And I would actually put Anthony Edwards over Jason Tatum for for a few reasons. But
I put Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum.
But
now I'm going to piss some people off. But yeah.
There were times tonight during Game 1 where you kind of saw it. Anthony Edwards, I don't know. He doesn't have the same feel for the game as far as passing into tight spots and stuff like that. I mean, and look, some of that is a natural gift. I mean, some of that, you can't teach some of the passes that we've seen from Luka over the years. But, I do agree with your general point. The way the way they teach basketball and practice basketball overseas compared to what's currently being done in the U.S. is drastically different, and that's why, like you said, that's why there's such a influx of good European talent. That it's just continuing to grow in the NBA, and it's going to continue to be that way. So I agree. I mean, especially with the national media, I think they do kind of hunger for the next real. And I mean, look, Anthony Edwards is a star. Jason Tatum is technically a star, but they're not.
Uh-oh.
They're not the Luka and the Jokic. And
I mean, I know Giannis is just, a freak athlete, but he's still, not American, and he's still dominating the league.
But I mean, look, I'm still just in awe. I mean, this is as good of a start to the Western Conference Finals as I could have imagined, because one, coming into it, you have the game one thing that, the monkey on the back that you had to get off because Jason Kidd had just not won a game one yet. And the last two game ones were disasters. The Mavs just got blown off the court. They didn't look like they got their midday naps in. And to come out and get a win on the road like this to start out the Western Conference Finals is awesome. We're 3 games away from the Dallas Mavericks being in the NBA Finals. And
that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. I'll tell you what, if we get there, watch out, because the Celtics, I mean, I don't know if y'all watched that game the other night, but I wouldn't exactly say they were impressive. They're definitely not God. I'll tell you that. They're not God. We can play with those people.
They are beatable. And the Pacers should be up 1-0 in that series, but they just, some really bad mistakes in the last 2 minutes of that game when the Pacers were up 5. They should be up 1-0 on the Celtics, but they kind of choked that game away. But I agree, and I'm hoping for it too, because my wife and I, we went to Dirk's Hall of Fame thing in Springfield, Massachusetts last summer. It was amazing. The day after the Hall of Fame stuff, we took a day trip to Rhode Island that wasn't too far off from there. And she enjoyed Rhode Island so much. She was like, I want to go back to Rhode Island at some point. And I'm thinking, you know what? If the Mavs end up playing the Celtics in the finals, that gives me a legitimate business reason to be within like 30 miles or so of Rhode Island in June. Go watch the Mavs and Celtics play in the NBA Finals, and then just go back to Rhode Island and have a mini summer vacation. So that is what I'm hoping for. We're off to a great start because the Mavs and Celtics are both up 1-0 in their series. So we'll see how it goes. But DJ, appreciate it as always. To everybody listening, I appreciate y'all coming in here and listening to us rant after every single game. It's always better to do it after a win. We're on a streak here, 3 consecutive playoff wins. They're all stressful as hell, but we we push through it, and we try to break these things down as good as we can for you guys, because I know y'all like to kind of relive what happens. Now, I wish the viewership was the same after losses, but I completely understand why people decide not to tune in and listen after a team has a deflating loss in the playoffs. But guys, appreciate it. I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. We'll be back on here Friday night after game 2, and we'll see how the Mavs carry over this momentum from a 108-105 game 1 win in the Western Conference Finals. We appreciate it, y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, guys.